contradictory narratives have emerged in understanding the uprisings in the Middle East. One of these supports the notion that these are disconnected revolutions, while the other one states that they are not. In order to understand the dynamics of these uprisings in the Middle East, we have to study the region through the angle of what connects it and also through what divides it. At the same time, we also have to examine the forces of status quo and change in the region.
The region shares common history, faith, language, and geography. However, there are different tribes and sects of religion, which divides the region and results in tussles such as the Shia-Sunni one. These differences were valuable tools in the hands of colonial powers and still are used by regional and global powers. Monarchs and autocrats have ruled most of these resource-rich and economically weak countries in the region, which is also a character the Arab nations share. These autocrats usually spend a lot of time and resources on self-preservation and have used religion for politicking. In the long run, this has seriously dented the credibility of the Sunni autocrats of the region. Furthermore, in the aftermath of the Peace Flotilla incident last year, the balance of power in the region and the Islamic world decisively shifted in favor of Turkey and Iran because of their strong posture against Israel. Since 9/11, global war on terror has been more active in resource-poor countries of the region. Extremists have generally used the resource-starved areas as safe havens from where to destabilize the resource-rich countries, which are in turn allied with and dependent on the Western powers for security. Additionally, emerging and established powers are dependent on the energy resources of these countries, and therefore stability and easy access is crucial.
With the end of Cold War, the West was placed in a very unique position. It could influence the forces of change and reform in the Middle East, but at the same time it was also supporting the forces of status quo. These forces of status quo were the monarchs and autocrats of the region, which were dependent on the West to gain legitimacy, which the West provided.
Recently, Al-Qaeda and the emerging powers of Brazil, Russia, China, and India, often known as the BRIC nations, have challenged the existing order in the region. The BRIC nations have generally been supportive of the US and NATO-led campaign against the extremists, especially in Iraq and Afghanistan. Although Russia and China have particularly watched with considerable concern the encroachment of NATO alliance into their traditional spheres of influence, these apprehensions caused BRIC nations to abstain from the vote on UN Security Council Resolution 1973 enforcing no-fly zone over Libya.
In this context, the uprisings in the Middle East are not so disconnected. What's happening in Yemen and Bahrain is considered a direct threat to the interests of Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is very concerned about what Iran is doing in Bahrain. However, on the other side, what's taking shape in Syria may be considered a countermove by Israel, Saudi Arabia, or United States for that matter, to undercut the forces and nexus between Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, and Hamas.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the most dangerous connection these Arab revolts have. So far, the revolt on the Arab street has not been anti-American or against Israel. Nonetheless, recent uptick in rocket attacks from Gaza into Israel were widely interpreted as an attempt by Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood or Iran to shift the focus of the popular unrest toward a common cause. Meanwhile, Israel is strongly projecting the Shia-Sunni conflict of the Arab and Islamic world and keeping the spotlight away from itself.